Ho, ho, ho! I must have been a good boy this year because Santa left me a nice present. Fresh roll of SantaColor 100. Let's talk about what this film is and my experience shooting it right after this intro.
Camera's performance in virtually any light. Fujifilm Super G Plus.
Catch the true colors of the season on Kodak Gold film.
35 millimeter and totally automatic. Happy holidays from Minolta.
SantaColor is just a respool of Kodak AeroColor 4, which is a very fine-grained, color-negative aerial surveillance film. And this is, I'm going to read from Kodak's datasheet. Kodak AeroColor 4 negative film 2460 is for general use in medium to high altitude aerial mapping and aerial reconnaissance photography. It is suited for geological, I think I wrote down pollution, archaeological, crop and forestry studies, traffic control, city planning, railway, highway, and hydraulic engineering, oceanography, and remote sensing, as well as other areas where photogrammetry is used. AeroColor can be processed in standard C41, and I've seen that it's pretty common to cross-process AeroColor in E6 for some very interesting looking negatives, and I kind of I'm gonna have to go grab them somewhere. I want to show you guys the film negatives in a little bit because color was showing up on the film negatives, and that does not normally happen. You can also cross-process this film in AN6 chemicals, which I don't believe is widely used anymore. I definitely had not heard of it before this video, but if you have access to that, there's an option. This film has a clear film base, and I went to go grab my negatives because I think you actually can see a difference after I finished recording this. But these are standard. This is Fuji 400. It's basically Ultramax 400 when you think of Kodak. But when you think of C41 color negative film, this is what you think of, right? I'm sure you can see that amber color. There you go, very normal. And this is the Kodak film. I believe you can see just the tonal shift, and I'll get some B-roll of it later. It is very, very interesting, very different, very weird, in a good way. In a good way. Let me put these away before I get distracted. According to Santa Film's camera store, the clear film base, the more transparent base often results in a warm red color that many like. So what they're saying there is that the clear base contributes to the color of the film, but I've also heard from other sources, other people online essentially, that the clear film base can freak out some scanners and result in some very wild tonal shifts, or color shifts rather. That did not happen with me, thankfully, but I have seen some people that have, and I scanned the film myself using just a cheap little $20 Wolverine scanner. It didn't freak out my scanner, but I think my scanner works different from normal scanners or from high-end scanners. I believe high-end scanners read the data that is imprinted on the actual film. If you look at some film negatives, there's going to be barcodes down here. I'm sure you can't see them on camera right now. The scanner reads that information, and I believe it applies a filter. It applies some generic editing, telling the scanner that this is how this film is supposed to look, but AeroColor doesn't have that. So I don't know if it's the scanner freaking out and certain labs not knowing what to do with it. But like I said, my little Wolverine $20 scanner scanned it, and it came out fine. It didn't come out as nice. The colors obviously didn't come out as nice as with the Noritsu. It didn't freak out my scanner itself, so I thought that was interesting.
The gifts that won't stay under your tree. Polaroid Square Shooter 2, strictly color.
As I mentioned earlier, this film is a respool of Kodak AeroColor 4, respooled by Santa Films, but this film is also available in different names, including Luminar 100, Electra 100, and Filmwashi X. This project originally started as an Indiegogo because the only way to get your hands on this kind of film is to buy gigantic, I don't think they're even this big, but to buy big, like $35,000 rolls. and then SantaFilm breaks those down into little 35mm cassettes, and then we can use them. Since SantaFilm is not the only company to do this kind of a thing, what sets them apart? Why should you go with them instead of going with someone else? If you have your own opinion already, you have your favorite brand, by all means, please feel free to stick with them. For me personally, what sets SantaFilm apart is the lack of plastic use. The only plastic that's actually used in the process is the plastic sealing around the metal container. But aside from that, they use actual metal canisters, recycled metal canisters actually. Their packaging, they don't use plastic tubs or the little plastic, whatever they are. They don't use these plastic containers, they use cardboard containers. So when you're done with it, instead of throwing this away like you inevitably are, this staying in the earth for another how many years? I just dropped my lens cap. For another 100 years or however long, the cardboard is what you're going to be throwing away instead, or in my case, keeping. And it's going to be around for a lot less time than the plastic, and it's going to pollute a lot less. And even when you buy a 5-pack of the SantaColor, it just comes in a longer cardboard box, and each one is just just 5 of these inside of that cardboard box. Just overall less plastic use in general. If you care about that thing, that is to me what sets them apart. If you don't, then to each their own. That is just my personal opinion. Before I get into my experience with shooting this film, I want to mention that all of these pictures were scanned and developed at 19-Minute Photo Lab. No editing was done on my end. And with that being said, I had a blast shooting this film. It's always a fun time putting in a new roll of film that you haven't tried before. And even if you know what the results are, or even if you have seen examples of the results, it's always a fun time getting your personal examples back. And when you're going through the process, that can even let you play into some of its strengths. Like for the SantaColor, I knew that the reds and the greens were punchy, so I tried to get some reds. I didn't want them all my colors to be red, so I wanted some variety there. But it's always a good time trying out new film. I went to Knott's Berry Farm for a majority of this role, specifically for their Merry Farm event, because Christmas, SantaColor, it went hand in hand. And now for the actual results of this film. I'm kind of torn with the results. Like I love the results, but they're almost too perfect. And so now what I mean by that is when I said earlier that this film is a very fine-grained film, a lot of what I've noticed is that a lot of companies will say that about their films, and then you get the film and it's not as fine a grain as they're claiming it to be. With this film stock, it is almost digital. You kind of have to search for the film grain, and that's a good and a bad thing for people who want very low grain but still want the look and the feel of film. Boom, this is perfect for it. But for people like me who want some of the grain to be visible, not extremely visible and harsh like some film stocks can be, but I still want that film grain to be present because it gives it a certain feel. With this film is an extra fine grain film. It is insane how fine this grain is. I have not seen a film with grain structure this fine or this pleasing to look at. Since the grain is so fine, I am curious to see how this film would do in the half frame format. I'm personally a big fan of half frame. I know it can be divisive, but I love half frame. I have an Ektar H35, H35N, Olympus Pen EE3. I'm looking at getting a Yashica Samurai, and I'm kind of upset because this is the one film I've started buying film in pairs so that I can start trying them out on a half frame camera and seeing how the grain structure looks there. And this is the one film that I didn't do this with. And this is the one film that I feel like I should have because of how fine the grain structure is. I wonder if that grain would look any harsher in the demi format or the half frame format. For those that don't know, if a normal film picture is taken in this amount of real estate, a half frame picture is taken in half of the real estate, roughly about that much. So you get double of the exposures, but half the resolution. I'm gonna have to buy another roll of this and try it out in, I'm not sure how long, but eventually I'll make another half frame episode of the SantaColor with an update on the film grain. Just to kind of go over my experience a little bit. When you're loading this film, make sure to load it in subdued light or make sure you're inside. I read on the website that you need to do that, load it inside. If not, you'll get light leaks. I've read that before. I didn't really care. I was like, you know what? It's fine. I loaded it in strong sunlight and I got really strong light leaks. I didn't think that would happen, but I was warned. I didn't listen. I suffered the consequences of my action. If you're going to buy this film and you have not yet loaded this film into your camera, please do so inside. For your own sake, for my sake, learn from my mistakes, please. Now, a little bit about the actual film itself. From my experience, I've seen that the film has a tendency to crush blacks. For some people, that's a good thing. Some people, that's a bad thing. For me, I like my blacks nice and dark. I don't like when something is black and it looks a little grayish. But what I'm noticing in this film is that this film thinks that like black is sometimes Vanta black, and there is like no information recorded in the shadowy areas or on like black clothing. It's kind of wild. It looks like it's a dark hole. Like the first picture that I took with the light leaks is actually a perfect example. It's very high contrast, but the blacks are just completely black. Like the shadowy areas, they look like the shadow realm is where they lead into. It's wild. I started kind of going back and forth with it. I'm still not sure where I land on it. You let me know down below. At first I liked it, but when I started noticing that it wasn't recording anything in the shadowy areas, it was just darkness, that's when I kind of started not liking it. But I'm still in between, still enjoying it a bit more, but that's just kind of my own feelings. As I mentioned earlier, greens and reds are very poppy, which kind of does also, I don't know if this was intended in the name, but it does also make for a good Christmas film, which now that I say that out loud, that's probably why they named it this. Anyways, all right, moving on to the next thing. You can see the greens and reds popping a lot in the Christmas tree and in this one of the two mannequins in front of this, I'm not sure what this is, building. I am not sure where I stopped. My camera just stopped recording automatically, but I was talking about the tray net knots that I took a picture of. I don't know why it has this kind of like greenish hue over everything. This was the only picture that it happened in, but I'm not sure. This was just really interesting. And you can also see what I'm saying about the shadowy areas and the blacks being crushed extremely in that cavernous area up there. And since we're talking about colors, I wanted to bring up the color chart. Let me grab mine. Here is my color chart for reference. I think that should be a decent look. But this is what I'm going to be comparing it against. And to me, what I'm seeing the colors lean pastel for me personally. In the, what is that? In the hot pink, let me move this. In the hot pink square, it looks like it leans more salmon. In the SantaColor, in the red square, it looks like it leans more pastel, and same in the pinkish square above that red. The green next to the red, the blue next to that green. The colors just come out looking slightly undersaturated, and they lean pastel in my interpretation. Here is the reference card once again. Please let me know if you have any of your own thoughts and opinions. Let me know down below. I would be happy to hear you. I think that's everything that I had to say on the film. It's a great film. It's extremely sharp, has extremely fine grain. It is almost digital, and if you're looking for little to no grain and what grain you do see is very pleasant, this is the film to go for. It is slow speed, so you do have to consider that when you're choosing this film. I wanted to end on one more picture specifically, and I wanted to end on this one because I feel like this picture exemplifies the sort of pastel-y palette that I was trying to describe. And maybe that's not the right word. I'm still new to interpreting colors within film photography, right? So maybe that's not the right verbiage to use, but this picture here of Accelerator really exemplifies what I was trying to say. Pinks in the sky are just very cotton candy-esque. All of the colors are very creamy almost and very pleasing to my eyes. Again, maybe the wording isn't proper, but there's just something to all of the metal supports and the sky that just wasn't there when I was in person. The sky looked nice and everything did look nice. It just didn't look the same way as it did in person, and I don't have any video evidence or any video to add or to show or compare to, unfortunately. You're just gonna have to take my word for it, but I feel like the picture speaks for itself. And that's the video. I thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending this time with me. I believe this is going to be the last video of 2025. I am working to get more videos out quicker, but film developing does take time, editing, all that fun stuff. Forgive me on that. I'm working to be better. 2026 is when I do actually want to start becoming more consistent with my film content. Thank you. I know I haven't been uploading much, but thank you to those of you that have been watching. It means a lot. It means more than I think you understand. I don't want to get too sappy, but I really appreciate you, genuinely from my heart. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being you. Please keep shooting. Enjoy 2026. Go out there, tell someone you love them, and Merry Christmas.
What makes a memory so special is that it happens only once, and then it's gone.